And yet, after everything, one question still remains. What are you going to do next? Not tomorrow. Not next week. Not when life becomes easier. Not when you feel more confident. Not when motivation finally shows up. What are you going to do today? Because information changes nothing. Awareness changes nothing. Understanding changes nothing. Action is the only thing that creates change. You can watch 1,000 videos, read 100 books, listen to endless advice. But none of it matters if your behavior stays the same. That is where most people get trapped. They mistake learning for progress. They mistake planning for progress. They mistake thinking for progress. But thinking about climbing a mountain is not the same as climbing it. Talking about change is not the same as changing. Wanting a better life is not the same as building one. At some point, every person reaches a crossroads. A moment where comfort and growth stand in front of you. A moment where excuses and responsibility pull in different directions. A moment where wishing and doing cannot both win. And the choice is rarely dramatic. It usually happens in silence, in an ordinary moment. When nobody is watching, when nobody will congratulate you. When the only person who knows the decision is you. Those moments define lives. More than talent, more than intelligence, more than luck. Because the gap between where you are and where you want to be is crossed through action. Nothing else. Not motivation. Not inspiration. Not luck. Action. Repeated consistently over time. And maybe that is why so few people ever reach their potential. Not because potential is rare. Because consistency is rare. Everyone wants the reward. If you want the process, everyone wants confidence. If you want the uncomfortable experiences that create it, everyone wants success. If you want the years of invisible work behind it, the world celebrates results. But life rewards effort. Life rewards persistence. Life rewards the people who keep moving when moving feels difficult. And that is the part many people never learn. The people who seem extraordinary are not always more talented. They are not always smarter. They are not always luckier. Often, they are simply the ones who refused to stop. The ones who kept showing up. The ones who kept taking the next step. The ones who understood that progress is not about perfection. It is about persistence. Because perfection is impossible. You will make mistakes. You will fail. You will doubt yourself. You will have bad days. You will lose momentum. You will fall short. That is not a possibility. That is a certainty. But none of those things can stop you permanently unless you let them. The only true failure is deciding that one setback defines your future. It does not. One mistake does not define you. One bad day does not define you. One failure does not define you. What defines you is what you do next. Whether you get back up, whether you try again, whether you continue when it would be easier to quit. That is where character is built. That is where strength is built. That is where your future is built. And one day, years from now, you will look back. You will look back at the choices you made, the habits you built, the actions you took, and you will realize your life was not changed by one giant breakthrough. It was changed by thousands of small decisions. Decisions that seemed insignificant at the time, but were not. Because every decision mattered, every step mattered, every day mattered. And this day matters too. This moment matters. This choice matters. Because while you are waiting for motivation, your life is moving forward. While you are waiting for certainty, time is passing. While you are waiting for the perfect moment, the moments that matter are already slipping away. So stop waiting. Stop searching. Stop hoping that one day you will become a different person. Become that person through your actions. Starting now. Starting today. Starting with the very next decision you make. Because motivation may come and go. But the person you become through discipline can change everything. And that is what this has always been about. Not motivation. Not success. Not productivity. It has been about becoming the kind of person who can trust themselves. the kind of person who follows through, the kind of person who acts, the kind of person who builds a life instead of merely dreaming about one. And that journey begins the same way every great journey begins. With a single step. Take it. But before you take that step, you need to understand something else. The world will not always reward you immediately. In fact, most of the time, it will not reward you at all. At least not in the beginning. You can work harder than everyone around you. You can stay disciplined. You can make sacrifices. You can remain committed. And still see no results for a long time. That reality breaks many people. Not because they lack ability, but because they expect progress to be visible. They expect effort and reward to arrive at the same time. But life does not work that way. Life often tests your commitment before it rewards your persistence. It asks a simple question. Will you continue even when there is no evidence that it is working? And that question separates dreamers from achievers. Because anyone can keep going when success is obvious. Anyone can stay committed when the rewards are immediate. Anyone can work hard when the finish line is already in sight. The real test comes when the finish line is invisible. When you're giving everything you have and nothing seems to be changing. When you're doing the work and nobody notices. When you are making progress and nobody applauds. When you are sacrificing and nobody understands. Those are the moments that define you. Because in those moments, you are no longer working for validation. You are no longer working for recognition. You are no longer working for approval. You are working because you have decided who you want to become. And that is a completely different mindset. Most people are obsessed with outcomes. Disciplined people are obsessed with standards. Most people ask, what am I getting? Disciplined people ask, who am I becoming? Because eventually the external rewards fade. The money loses its excitement. The praise becomes temporary. The achievements become normal. But the person you have built remains. The character you have developed remains. The strength you have earned remains. And no one can take those things away from you. That is why discipline is one of the most powerful forms of freedom. At first, it feels restrictive. It feels difficult. It feels demanding. But over time, it creates freedom. Freedom from procrastination. Freedom from excuses. Freedom from self-doubt. Freedom from the constant cycle of starting and stopping. Freedom from being controlled by your emotions. And perhaps that is the greatest reward of all. Not success, not wealth, not recognition, but self-respect. The quiet confidence that comes from knowing you can rely on yourself. Knowing that when things get difficult, you will not run. Knowing that when challenges appear, you will not hide. Knowing that your word means something, even when nobody else hears it. Because at the end of the day, the most important relationship you will ever have is the relationship you have with yourself. And every promise you keep strengthens that relationship. Every excuse weakens it. Every action builds it. Every delay damages it. So the question was never whether you are capable. You are. The question was never whether you have potential. You do. The question was never whether success is possible for you. It is. The real question has always been this. Are you willing to keep going when motivation disappears? Because it will disappear. Again and again. But if you learn to move without it, if you learn to act regardless of how you feel, if you learn to trust discipline more than emotion, then there is very little in this world that can stop you. And one day, when people look at your life and wonder how you did it, they will assume it was talent, or luck, or intelligence, but you will know the truth. It was the decision you made on the days when you did not feel like continuing. The days when nobody believed in you. The days when nothing seemed to be working. The days when quitting looked easier. Those were the days that built everything. Those were the days that mattered most. If you're waiting for a sign, this is it. Stop waiting for motivation. Become the person who moves without it. Because your future is not built by how you feel. It is built by what you do. Day after day. Choice after choice. step after step. And when that future finally begins to take shape, you will realize something important. The goal was never the destination. It was the person you became along the way. Because every goal eventually loses its power. The house becomes normal. The promotion becomes normal. The business becomes normal. The achievement becomes normal. Human beings adapt. They always do. What once felt extraordinary eventually becomes part of everyday life. But the discipline you develop stays with you. The resilience you built stays with you. The confidence you earn stays with you. Those things become part of who you are. And that is why this journey was never really about success. Success is just a byproduct. The real reward is transformation. The real reward is becoming someone who no longer needs motivation to move forward. Someone who no longer waits for perfect conditions. Someone who no longer lets fear make decisions on their behalf. Someone who understands that action creates momentum. That consistency creates results. And that discipline creates freedom. Because freedom is not doing whatever you want whenever you want. That is what many people believe. But real freedom is having control over yourself. Control over your habits. Control over your choices. Control over your future. The freedom to do what needs to be done, even when it is difficult. The freedom to stay committed when others quit. The freedom to build a life based on intention rather than impulse. And in a world where so many people are controlled by distractions, emotions, and excuses, that kind of freedom is rare. Very rare. Maybe that is why so many people spend years searching for answers outside themselves. They search for motivation, for secrets, for shortcuts, for hacks, for magical solutions, never realizing that the answer has been in front of them all along. The answer is not motivation. The answer is responsibility. The answer is consistency. The answer is showing up. Again, and again, and again. Especially when you do not feel like it. Because that is when growth happens. Not when it is easy. Not when it is exciting. Not when everything is going your way. Growth happens when continuing becomes difficult, and you choose to continue anyway. That choice seems small in the moment, almost insignificant, but those choices shape destinies. They shape careers. They shape relationships. They shape entire lives. And one day, you will look back and understand that your future was never created by one giant moment. It was created by thousands of ordinary moments. Moments when you decided to act instead of procrastinate. Moments when you decided to continue instead of quit. Moments when you decided to trust the process instead of your emotions. Moments when you chose discipline over comfort. Those moments built everything. And now another one of those moments is here, right now, as this message comes to an end. Because after this video is over, nothing changes automatically. There is no magical transformation, no sudden breakthrough, no instant success. There is only a decision, your decision. The same decision that every successful person eventually had to make. Will you continue waiting, or will you finally begin? Will you keep searching for motivation, or will you become someone who no longer depends on it? Because the truth is simple. Motivation is temporary. Discipline is permanent. Motivation is an emotion. Discipline is an identity. Motivation comes and goes. Discipline stays. And in the end, the people who achieve extraordinary things are not the people who felt motivated every day. They are the people who kept going on the days they felt nothing at all. The days they were tired. The days they were discouraged. The days they wanted to quit. The days nobody believed in them. The days nothing seemed to be working. Those were the days that mattered most. Those were the days that built the future. So maybe today is one of those days for you. Maybe today is the day you stop waiting. Maybe today is the day you stop making excuses. Maybe today is the day you stop looking for motivation and start building discipline. Because years from now, you will either remember this moment as the day everything changed, or you will barely remember it at all. The difference will not be determined by what you heard. It will be determined by what you do next. So take the step, make the call, start the project, open the book, go to the gym, write the first page, take the first action, no matter how small. Because every great achievement begins exactly the same way, with a decision to move forward before you feel ready, a decision to act before you feel confident, a decision to begin before you feel motivated. And if you can make that decision, if you can learn to move regardless of how you feel, then you already possess something more powerful than motivation. You possess discipline. And with discipline, there is no limit to how far you can go. Stop waiting. Start now.